This broadcast is a Stephen K. Media production.
The success of the small business person is the cornerstone of the American economy. Welcome to the Small Business Today Show with your hosts, Cruise and Hughes. The Small Business Today Show is for and about small business advancement and development. What we do for you. We'll be taking your calls as we provide you small business intelligence and mentorship needed to grow your business creatively. Keep listening. The Small Business Today Show with Cruise and Hughes starts now.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Small Business Today with Cruise and Hughes right here on Blog Talk Radio. We also stream live each day, Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time at ustream.tv. Welcome aboard. This is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. We always encourage you to call in and give us a piece of your mind. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by calling 347-857-3958. Again, that number to the studio is 347-857-3958. Irv?
John.
How was your day, sir?
I had a great day today, man. And you're inviting people to call us and give us a piece of their mind.
Why not? You know, sometimes we need to hear it from them directly.
Well, you know what? A lot of people have mind to spare. So, maybe they can share some with us.
Well, today may be that day. Now, hopefully they'll be nice because we do have a guest today.
Oh, we do?
We have a guest today. We have Mr. Mike Muni here in the studio. Well, I take that back. He's on the phone. Mike is calling from his offices in Dallas. So, but he is here today. So everybody has to play fair and be nice.
That's right. Be nice when Mike's on the phone.
Mike, are you there?
It's more fun sometimes to not be nice, so let's have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, for those who don't know you, I want to go ahead and sort of set you up a little bit and tell a little bit about yourself. Now, Mike is the CEO of a company called VIP Orbit, and he's also the author of a book called Who's in Your Orbit? Beyond Facebook, Building Relationships That Matter. And we're going to talk a little bit about Mike's company and some of the other things, the other notable things that Mike has done in his business career. It's always a pleasure having you on the show, Mike, and I want to say welcome back.
Well, thanks very much for having me, John.
All right. Now, you are calling us from Dallas, Texas, correct?
That is correct.
Are you a Dallas Cowboy fan?
How can you live in Dallas with Jerry Jones in the press every day and not be a Cowboys fan at least? At least you say you are. Let me put it that way.
There you go.
That's good. That's
until
good,
you
Mike.
get out of the city limits.
That's good right there.
Well,
I was born and raised in Chicago, so the Chicago Bears still resonate pretty strongly.
Go Bears!
Go Bears!
We just had a conversation on the show a couple weeks ago, and Irv and I said, we talked about the fact that everyone has a team that they support, but then everybody has that team that they secretly admire behind the scenes, and the Bears are always my team. So go Bears.
Exactly. And I did have the privilege of being with Mike Ditka once
oh my God.
Personally, so that made it even more profound and everlasting.
Very nice. Very nice. Now I'm jealous now, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I tell you what, Mike. Let's start out by talking a little bit about what VIP Orbit is and sort of familiarize the product with our listening audience.
Okay, no, I appreciate it, John. VIP Orbit is really my, let's call it my second child, if you will. I'm also the co-inventor of ACT, the product that created the entire contact software category and is acknowledged as being the catalyst that created today's CRM industry. So I abandoned Windows myself back in 2004 and went Apple. And, of course, I bought the first iPhone when it came out. And a couple years after using that, I was frustrated that I didn't have seamlessly integrated and robust information on everybody that I knew and everything that I knew about people that I once had enjoyed when I was using ACT all the time. And so I looked on the market, it didn't exist, and sometimes need is the mother invention. And so I thought, well, heck, I've done this before, I'm going to do it again. So what is VIP Orbit? VIP Orbit is the best way to manage your contacts, calendars, and communications, including social media, as part of it, because people are involved in social media today, on your iPhone and or your iPad. We have versions for each of those devices as two of our beginning products. And with the ubiquity of mobile devices in the world, and no excuse for people to not be able to pull out of their pocket everything they know about everybody and schedule things and remember what was talked about in the past or any transaction that occurred with them, that's what VIP Orbit provides for the very affordable price of $9.99 one-time cost for the phone and $14.99 one-time cost for the iPad. There's also a free version for those of you that may want to try it first. It's good up to 100 contacts that we import from your address book for you to take a look at it.
Wow.
That's outstanding.
And the web address is viporbit.com, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, Mike, I've got to ask a question. How did you come up with the name Orbit?
Well, that's a good question. I appreciate asking that. Actually, I forgot to mention because that's such a powerful component of VIP Orbit. The definition of an orbit, according to the dictionary, is a person's sphere of resource, power, and influence, obviously with others. Well, who doesn't want that? And who in today's world especially isn't relationship-centric? It's not just salespeople. I don't care if you're a doctor, lawyer, CPA, radio host. I mean, we all have relationships, and we would like to remember things about them and have instant recall, on-demand photographic memory like executive assistant help by means of software on my mobile device. So I came up with Orbit for this reason in part. Today you like to have the URL for your product name for the obvious reason, and so I went through a lengthy process of trying to come up with a name for the product a couple years ago when I was envisioning it. And I was on GoDaddy, and it took me about 8 hours of trial and error before I finally hit on the name VIP, which obviously you like to treat people, in that fashion because you give VIP treatment. Ultimately, you get greater success. And then, so what about VIP? Because VIP.com was taken. And so I came up with Orbit and checked on the definition and type it in, and it was available. And you never saw me pull out my credit card to spend $9.99 with GoDaddy faster than I did that day, right? And I locked it in. But there is a very distinct difference between an orbit and a circle and a group. And what an orbit is much different and far beyond a circle, i.e., like, let's say, Google circles, is that it allows me to build depth of information on an individual, and of course I can aggregate that across groups of people. And so I'll take John, for example, right? So John, I've created an orbit called Radio Programs because I've been on John's program last October 26th. I remembered that because I looked in John's log file in his VIP Orbit
Very nice.
record. And I know what we talked about, but he's in my radio station orbit. He's also in my strategic orbit, and he's also in my industry acquaintance orbit. So a person can be in unlimited orbits because it's easier to think of them that way. And I can do powerful things with orbits. I can send an email, for example, to everybody in an orbit, but each person thinks that they were the only one that got that email. And it logs in every one of their profiles that I sent them an email today. I can send everybody a text, and everybody thinks they were the only one that got the text. I can update, other information. Maybe the status changed from, prospect to customer. That's an easy one to describe, right? Across the board. So I have a lot of ability to do many things with one effort because of the power and depth of an orbit.
That's powerful stuff.
Now, when you say that everybody thinks that they're the only one that got it, is it because that it tailors every email by the first name of the people that are in that orbit?
No, not yet. That's a good question. So in the body presently of the email, I can't say, hi, John, but I can have it appear when you receive it that it's just addressed to you. So in the to field, it just would say to John Cruise from Mike Muni, right? But in fact, it went to everybody else as if they were similarly treated individually. But I've aggregated it and simultaneously across whether it's 10 or 100 or 1,000 people that got that email as if it was sent only to them. It recorded 1,000 places that in 1,000 people's profiles that they were sent an email today and what it was about.
Now, Mike, and I'm sitting here thinking about how many uses this program could serve in terms of someone who's in business, and we all know that the device is becoming. I think kids are born with a device nowadays, aren't they? I mean,
at the very least, it's replacing the laptop. That's for sure.
So, and you have all of this at your fingertips to be able to run everyone that's in your orbit, as it were, and keep up with all of your people. Now, tell me, how do you get everyone into this orbit? How do I import the information? Does it do that automatically on my phone?
It can. On the iPhone, which is the original code base, we import directly from the Apple address book. So everybody that you already have in there, their phone numbers, address, even the notes that you may have put in there with them, we automatically import that into VIP Orbit and create a record for that person inside of VIP Orbit. And from there, you, of course, would begin to create whatever orbit you want that's pertinent to you, and then you can literally drag and drop them into the various orbits that you feel that they belong to. And a profile doesn't have to be a person. I have profiles of hotels I stay at when I travel. So I have a hotel orbit, and everywhere in the country I like to stay, and, you know, their phone number and normal stuff, I've got that orbit. And so when I travel, let's say to Houston, I would look up everybody in Houston. I could instantly create an orbit, if it didn't already exist, of everybody in Houston. I could send an email saying, I'm coming to town, any opportunity to get together. You know, for example, I could schedule a group activity with everybody if I wanted to, if it was appropriate. And so I begin to become much more efficient and proficient at doing a whole lot more in the same 24/7 that each of us has, as opposed to doing it one at a time. So on the iPad version, John, which is the newer code base, to answer your question, we literally can import all of your contacts from not only the address book, but Google, Contacts, and Calendar, of course, the Apple address book and iCal, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So 5 means by which we can bring together all of your contacts. That functionality in all of those is going to be retrofitted into the iPhone version very shortly here.
Mike, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back. We're going to ask you a few more questions about VIP Orbit. Then I want to get some information from you in terms of the time that you spent putting your company together as co-founder of ACT. Guys, stay with us. We're listening to Small Business Today with Cruise and Hughes, which is brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. If you'd like to get a free copy of the magazine that we publish every month for and about Houston's entrepreneurs, you can go to www.smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com. More with Mike Muni right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it.
Hey, Mike?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear me? It's Ervin. How are you, man?
Yes, Ervin. How are you?
Good. Hey, listen, I had the good pleasure while we're in break. I had the good pleasure of meeting and talking with you at one of our events, man. And while we're doing this interview here, I'm sitting here thinking about how many iPhones and iPads you must have helped sell because of your application by now. Because I'm on Android right now, and I'm telling you, when I'm hearing about your application, I'm as jealous as I can be.
Well, that's a good thing, Irv. I appreciate that.
So anyway, I just Stephen K., our producer, was kind enough to put us in the screening room so I could talk to you off air. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking I'm gonna fold that into our show sometime today and get you to talk about a little bit about driving sales and how your product really is a nice fit for that kind of platform, if you don't mind.
Oh, no. I appreciate any and all questions. I know that these can be a lot of fun, and so, have at me. And I'll offer you this as well, Ervin. I'll give you a personal Skype tutorial step-by-step to get you up to speed fast if you switch to an iPhone or iPad and download VIP. And I really mean that. I do it for a lot of people.
Okay. Well, that's a good deal. Well, listen, I really appreciate it. So we're going to come back here from break in just a second, but I just wanted to get a chance to say hi to you.
Well, thank you. And I do remember you, too. That was fun that night I was down there.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, hang on, 30 seconds. All right.
in IMAX. What are you? I'm customs reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at svtmagazine.net. Here are your hosts, Cruise and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. If you're just joining in, our guest today via telephone is Mike Muni, who's the CEO of a company called VIP Orbit. He's also the author of a book called Who's in Your Orbit. And if you'd like to connect with Mike or his program, you could go to their website, which is viporbit.com. Again, that's viporbit.com. Now, Mike, I want to know, what is the difference in your world as it relates to operating a social network and a personal network? Because most people use those two terms interchangeably. Is there really a difference?
I think there's a huge difference, John, and this is how I can best describe it, and not just describe it, this is how I experience it personally. Social media is here to stay. It's powerful. We all should use it as individuals, certainly as businesses. You know, I'm talking about LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook primarily, of course. But one has to still be cautious in how it's applied from a relationship standpoint, because you can't abdicate the value of personal relationships. So social media, I often describe in the following manner: it should be called social me, because it really is all about me. Whether it's about me or my company, it's about me. And it's public information. So from a competitive edge standpoint, there basically isn't any, because my competitors have the same access to the same information that's publicly posted. And so, again, it's about me and it's public. Relationship management, conversely, is about you and it's private information. And, one of the most essential elements of any real, meaningful relationship is the trust factor. And you do not build trust over time by spilling the beans on everything you know about people after speaking with them or learning about them, which mitigates your competitive edge anyway. So, it's a balance. And so in my personal world, I post tweets. I, occasionally go to my Facebook page, etc. But where I really keep the information close to my chest and playing my cards close is in VIP Orbit in my case, because it's that private information. So, for example, John, I'm going to poke a little bit of fun at you here, okay? And
no problem.
Have changed since
I have thick skin, so go ahead.
No, I had recorded, something about you personally. You said that you were an Android user, at least at the time, but your wife was an iPhone user. Now, I recorded that. You might think, well, was that really important? Maybe not, but look, I'm able to recall it on demand right now and ask you, are you still an Android user?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, that's fine. But the point is, what it demonstrates to you, hopefully, whether you realize it or not, and of course, many people do realize, was, wow, he really cared about me. He paid attention, and he remembered something about me. Most people don't do that. We have loose memories of things. Oh, yeah, I know we met months back at some bar or whatever, and that's fine. But if I can become a professional and distance myself from competition, I've now moved into the zone that I call no traffic jam on the extra mile. How do I get there, and how do I stay there? And in part, I do it by a different attitude on how I treat people, feel about them, and keep information about them. And a lot of it is personal stuff, not necessarily business, but it's the things that cause us to laugh or prompt something that you're very passionate about. Maybe you love golf or whatever, right? Whatever it is. And I remembered that. And so what do we start talking about? Your passions. So it's all about engagement and connection, but it starts with how I, record stuff about you. And so that's the distinction between social media and relationship management, personal media, if you will. My personal media about everybody I know.
Yeah, well, I see you got Irv over here. He's just shaking his head and smiling because you're hitting on so many points as it relates to, I know, being a salesperson, being a business owner.
Right.
And this program has so much value, even more so than just what you do on a personal level.
Right.
And one of the things that jumped out in everything that you just said is how you're able to distance yourself from everybody else. Irv, and I think you'll agree.
Yeah, no, Mike, you may not have heard the show, but just last week, John and I did an entire show on the new currency in business. And what we talked about being the new currency is trust. And I couldn't help but grab on to what you were saying, that this is one of the differences and one of the benefits in being able to use a product like this is for you to be able to build trust with people further than and deeper than perhaps your competitors could. And
exactly.
People, you know, trust is a big deal in business today because so many public trusts have been broken, you know, really since 2008 in so many large areas in political areas. You've had politicians to break trusts. You've had bankers to break trusts. You've had insurance companies to break trusts. And so in business now, with a tool like this and with innovation being driven now because of the economy the way it is, trust is a really, really big issue for people to be able to do business and align themselves with people with, you know, similar characteristics.
I totally agree. You know, and in today's you know, ubiquitous high-tech world, we all have digital information anywhere and everywhere. Matter of fact, one of the new words I've started to use to describe the world we all live in is infobesity. We're all you know, overfed, if you will, with information, and we're fat on it, right?
Now you know I'm going to steal that word from you, Mike.
You feel free, John. That's why I gave it to you. But it's true, right? And so there is. It's much easier today to violate that trust, Irv, because it's so much easier to promote it out into the market and publicize it. And the moment I do that, there's consequences. Now, I'm not saying that, of course, if I tweeted that I talked to you guys on the phone, we had a great conversation. Of course, that's perfect. That's beautiful, in fact, right? We're mutually benefiting each other.
That's right.
But there are some things that, you know, if I'm with you privately and we're talking about some stuff and we get down into it, that's a different story. And here's another way to describe social media versus personal relationship management. So I'm going to ask you a question. If I had an hour-long intimate dinner at my house, 10 chairs around the table, you know, 10 guests, if you will, and I spent an hour at that table with all 10, is that the same thing as spending an hour with each of them? Of course not. But both are beneficial. I mean, it is a cozy dinner. It's only 10 people, intimate. We all had fun. We all laughed. We all learned more about each other. Right. But that doesn't then mean that I shouldn't spend individual time with each of you. Or if you are that close to me, I need to spend individual time with you. Where do I keep that information? Because then we start to get off into a few other things. Maybe you didn't like one of the guests, right? Well, you're not going to say that in front of everybody, but to me you might, or we might have an issue to resolve. That's between you and me. And so, you know, again, it's that balance and blend that we have to protect ourselves with today, given the ubiquity of technology and our use of it.
Now, when you talk about value, how do social networks portray an illusion of value?
Okay, well, again, I'm going to apply my own personal situation that has been pretty much, you know, the precedent all along. And I'll talk first about LinkedIn. So, you know, I obviously, as a book writer and as a software, you know, developer, I maybe publicized more than some, and a whole lot less than a whole lot others. But the point is, people, you know, who may be listening to this broadcast, for example, might send me a LinkedIn. I want to link up with you. Well, okay, that's fine, but most of the time I don't even get a personal message. It would be better for somebody to say, hey, I heard you, you know, on John and Irv's show. I like some things you said. I'd like to link up with you. Wow, what that tells me is they were listening, they enjoyed something I said, and they want to link up.
Right.
I'm likely to link up with them. But if I get a default message,
right,
you know, I want to link up with you, and then I say, okay, I literally, virtually all the time, never hear from those people ever again.
Wow.
It's the illusion of a connection. So LinkedIn is not real relationships. It's the illusion of relationships. And then it gets even worse, in my opinion, or can, of course, with Facebook, at least if you want to skew it toward a business element, right?
Right.
Because, you know, the whole definition of a friend has been prostituted in today's world. I mean, it has.
Absolutely.
And what is a real friend? It's different than what you and I knew it to be when we were much younger and little kids, and we didn't have the ubiquity of devices like exist today. So, it's got to be reevaluated and recalibrated, even, if you will. And so I don't accept friends just because they want to look at my pictures and see what I've grown up to look like, or whatever. It's just it's relational voyeurism is what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
And I refuse as much as I can to prevent relational voyeurism from occurring, because it's superficial and it's shallow and it's meaningless. And I like to say that meaningful business, again, let's kind of skew this all toward business, entrepreneurs, etc. Meaningful business is the result, and always will be, of having meaningful relationships. I can't have it if they're relational voyeurs or the illusional relationships. They've got to be real.
Well, and I'll tell you what, you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, how can you befriend 5,000 people on on Facebook? So, but when you think about that, as from a business standpoint, I know that people do see that they had that those relations, or rather that those networks have value. But if you don't know anything about those people,
right,
is there really value?
Right, and I think too, even from a sales standpoint, we talk about that on the show all the time. One of the challenges with this, and what Mike is saying, if I hear you right, Mike, is that if it's not a real relationship, you really don't have enough information to even really build a meaningful business relationship.
You're exactly right, Irv. I mean, let me try to paint a picture, if you will, here. And the picture is a xylophone, right? So it's got a wide opening at the top, and it's got a narrower opening at the bottom, right? So let's dump all the social media stuff, my 5,000 friends and my 50,000 followers on Twitter, etc., in the top of that xylophone, if you will. So that's great. But what I need to do is, at the very bottom, extract out of it, or begin to figure out who to extract out of it, in the sense of, now I need to start to pay personal attention to them. I need to now take the initiative to, target them individually to lead to these meaningful relationships, as opposed to just dealing with it at the top.
Mike, let me hold you right there, because I will really want you to be able to complete that thought. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, can we pick up right where you are? So we'll pick up right there. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruise and Hughes, brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. Stay with us. We'll return with more from Mike Muni in a moment.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market,
And this alternative is...
coffee news. It's entertaining stories,
famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The storm's coming. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gotham's Reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruise and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mr. Mike Muni. Mike is the CEO of VIP Orbit. He's the author of a book called Who's in Your Orbit. We're talking about his company, VIP Orbit, and if you are an Apple user, you should definitely go and download that program for your devices, and you could go to www.viporbit.com. Now, Mike, tell me, what type of challenges were you running into developing this product?
Well, no, it's a good question, John. A lot of problems, but I think that's probably part and parcel to starting up any company. It's a noisier world today. Obviously, we have nanosecond, and that's being generous, attention span. Today there's 750,000 apps on the App Store. I mean, this going back to this infobesity word, right? There's just so much out there. How do I even find anything? Where you come to live on keywords, and if you don't know the right keyword, you might miss a better solution for something you're looking for than if you had remember a more appropriate keyword, right? So there's just a lot of opportunities or missed opportunities because of the noise factor out there. So that's one challenge. A lot of companies need to be funded. I am a funded company in part because of my co-inventing act credential and all that, and kind of staying in my stream of expertise, if you will. But even that was a process. Successfully achieved, but nonetheless, it's never easy to raise money. So that was one. Obviously, always hiring good people and the right kind of people, because you're building a culture in your company that is going to further represent the personality that you want to portray. So that's always interesting, because you're asking people to buy into your vision and dream. So that, those are some of the major challenges, and just getting momentum going. Period is difficult. But what is the alternative? That's why entrepreneurship is a journey and an adventure, someone at that, high risk but high reward, and something that I'm very comfortable with. So I didn't look at any of those as insurmountable. I knew what to expect, and it's kind of a damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
That's it. That's the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Business is war, right? So
that's right.
It beats the alternative of working in a Dilbert cubicle. I'll put it that way.
Dilbert cubicle. Oh wow! I hadn't heard that in so long. I'd forgotten about poor Dilbert.
Poor Dilbert. He still has a job, though. A lot of people wish they could say that, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I also like wearing blue jeans to work, so I had to create a job where I could wear blue jeans and no one would give me a hard time, and we can get away with that in the software business.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike. Now, how different has it been for you to create VIP Orbit versus the time that you spent creating and designing and helping out with your team and your involvement with the ACT software?
Yeah, good question, John. You have to go back into the context of the era. So ACT, we started to design it and develop it in beginning on July 4th, 1986. And I remember that day specifically because it was a holiday. And I literally have the original napkin of what began to constitute the first menu line from which everything else started to be built, right? But there were very few software products back then, and they were all, as they were referred to, shrink-wrapped, and you had to go to a store like a CompUSA to buy it or whatever. And most people didn't have a PC yet, and this brand new thing called the laptop was just coming out. They weren't very powerful, but it represented the first device of true mobility that we take for granted today. So it was a lot less crowded, and that was a print world. There were print magazines. There wasn't a digital magazine, and so it was easier to get to the tier one journalists, if you will, and get covered and reviewed and all those kinds of things. And people had less publications to go to for that kind of information. So I would have to say, in my own opinion, you were discovered faster. Today, with bloggers and tweets and and print, hard copy print and digital print, and the variety of publications out there is enormous. And so, just trying to attack all of it is a huge challenge, and it is a difficult thing to do. So, first of all, on that topic, let me right here at this moment express my deepest appreciation to you two guys for even having me on this program, because you afford me an opportunity to help people become aware of a product like VIP Orbit, and so I'm very thankful for you guys, but it's much harder. So good for you.
It's definitely our pleasure.
Absolutely, Mike. And every opportunity I get to spend with you, any excuse is going to work for me. I don't care what it is, man, because I truly am a fan of yours. And I'm really just thrilled at the success that you have and are having, and in really creating a product that's helping other people become successful.
Well, thank you. I like to tell people, look, I'm a user too. I'm a regular guy. I want to do better. Who doesn't want to do better in my own life and the livelihood that I've chosen, and want to always succeed at and improve, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm no different than anybody else. And so it's easy for me to relate to, all of these kinds of things, because it's common courtesy. It's, normal human bonding. It's connections. It's the things we all, endeavor to achieve, but we don't apply common sense often to what seems to be, overtly, very common. But it's not common. It's uncommon to treat people the way they ought to be treated in an exceptional fashion, to stand above and the rest of the crowd, right? So I want to make that. I don't know if this is meaningful to you guys, but let me try to give something to you, because I'm being able to get from you this pulpit to create awareness of my product. So, to your listenership, if they want to email you and identify their email address, I would be happy to provide a webinar, a tutorial webinar, personally given, where I would provide your listeners who submitted their email addresses the code to go in to go to meeting, and I'll get you and every one of them up to speed as quickly as possible with all my personal insights into the product.
Wow.
That is very generous, Mike, and I certainly appreciate you saying that on the show here, because absolutely people can benefit largely from it. And the truth is, it kind of leads me to a question I wanted to ask you. When you have a tool like this, Mike, what do you find are the pertinent pieces of information that you want to keep in this? I mean, everybody's going to keep something a little different and so on, but are there some general principles, if you will, that if you have a tool, if you're using a relationship management tool like this, there's certain personal items that you probably want to keep on everybody, or is it just random?
No, it's not random, Irv. It's very specific in my case. And in fact, what I'm going to tell you may surprise you, but VIP Orbit is customizable to whatever you do. Again, CPA, lawyer, doctor, salesperson, it doesn't matter. You get to customize a portion of it. There are user-definable fields, and I have named my user-definable fields on top of the normal fields, name, address, phone number, URL, or your Facebook name, your Twitter name. Those are standard in today's world. They're pretty much on everybody's business card.
Sure.
So what I'd like to capture, and what's most meaningful to me, in addition to the logging, where I can go back in time and remember literally every transaction, call, meeting, to do I've done with a person. I can even filter it, so if I only want to see meetings, I can. But the user fields are where I make it meaningful to me on this personal level we've been talking about. So let me tell you what my 6 user fields are that I've named, and they're the same I had in ACT. I have a personal field. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, like in John's case, I kidded him about, are you still an Android user and his wife is an iPhone user? I put that in his personal field, right?
Right.
It was something personal. I'm gonna add to it after this call. I'm gonna say, he's really a secret Bears fan, and he's jealous that I'm at Ditka, right? That's a personal thing to remember, so that next time we encounter each other, I'll look at that and go, in case, if I forgot it, I'll be reminded that on-demand instant recall, photographic memory, right, capability that it provides me. And we'll start laughing right away, right? Because that's what happens when you talk about things like that. The second field I use is called business. Now, what's the distinction between personal and business? Okay, well, let's say, for example, that John, I don't know, let's say John won a Congressional Medal of Honor or a Nobel Prize or something that's truly personal. And, wow, that is so unique. I always want to remember that at the forefront of about John.
And I'm working on both of those, by the way.
But business might be that, I don't know, he heads up the Houston Chamber of Commerce and was awarded the Businessman of the Year in Houston. Okay, that's a business thing, but it's very personal. So I make that distinction between the two. And then I have family. And what I mean by family is, you know, if I learn your wife's name or your girlfriend's or boyfriend's or kids' names, I put their names in there. What if I met John's wife and we had dinner or a drink and had a good time, and I don't see John for a year, and he and his wife walk in, and I say, "Hi, John, how you doing?" And I look at his wife, and I go, "Hi." It's obvious I forgot her name, and we had spent time together. So it's a place for me to remember those things. I have dates, like if I learn your birthday or your anniversary of some sort, whatever. It's a date field, and I identify it. This is his birthday. I have a hobbies field. You know, people like to talk about what their passions are, as I said earlier. And so if I learn what your hobbies are, we can start talking about it. So if it's, you know, racing or whatever, you know, let's start talking about that. And John will talk profusely. Anybody talks about what they love. And then the last field is a fan of. And the fan of is where I do put things like, you know, the Green Bay Packers or the, you know, Houston Astros or Dallas Cowboys or whatever. Fan of Picasso. It could be anything. What are you a fan of? Right? And so now you see how I've very quickly, from that top of the tube, if you will, or that we were talking about earlier,
right,
I come down to the bottom and I start to personalize it uniquely.
That's Mike. That is just outstanding, and I'm telling you, I am enjoying this interview so very much, folks. Make sure you get a pen and keep up with what we're doing here. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back, folks. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruise Ervin Hughes, brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. Stay with us. The education continues in a moment.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
"Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?"
Or even worse,
"We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response."
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancooney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. This storm's coming. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gotham's Reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at svtmagazine.net. Here are your hosts, Cruise and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mike Muni. Mike is the CEO of VIP Orbit. If you want to know more about the people in your orbit, I encourage you, if you're an Apple user, to go to www.viporbit.com. Download that application and watch how you can get more information on the people that you have in your network or in your orbit. Now, Mike, I want to definitely point out the fact that everyone knows now that you are the CEO and founder of VIP Orbit, that you're one of the co-founders of the ACT software, which started the whole CRM game, as it were. But what most people probably don't know is that you also worked for Big Blue.
I did, and little did I realize it back then. They taught me a lot of the principles that I literally applied in my contribution in the design with my partner of ACT, and of course the design of VIP Orbit.
And that was
I started my career in the mainframe era back in 1974 with IBM in Chicago.
And that's the part I wanted you to lead up to. So how did you determine, or how did you stumble upon, that there was a need for what the ACT software brought to the market through what you did at IBM?
Okay, well, good question, John. Again, when I started my career with IBM, fresh out of college and getting my first, real job, I thought that I would stay with them for the rest of my life. It was, that era. I mean, I don't know that I even remember ever hearing the word entrepreneur back then. But some of the things that they taught me, and they taught me a lot. We were in intensive sales school training for 6 months. It was like being in an MBA class. We had to role play case studies. We were ranked nationally, et cetera, et cetera. And I ranked very high in my national graduation class. I was just fortunate. But I enjoyed it, and I guess I applied the lessons learned. But they taught us a concept back then called "What's on the Walls," and I know that sounds funny because everybody goes, "Well, of course, that's Facebook." No, Facebook didn't exist back then.
Right.
What it meant back then was, you would call on a company. Let's say I come to your office, right? Your office, or for example, and you've got magazines laying on your coffee table, or and it kind of gives me some hints as to some of the things that are of interest to you. I walk into your office and I see pictures of you and your family, or some yacht or a trip across the Mediterranean, whatever you have displayed. That's what's on the walls. And so, what do you start to do? You start to inquire about those things. Why? Because people talk about what their passions are that I mentioned earlier. So, by doing that, it began to erode the normal obstacles that exist between a buyer and a seller, right? We have to start to work toward this trust factor, and I've got to be authentic, which is very important in today's world, this authenticity issue. But that transcends time and technology. So that's what I learned in one respect from IBM. So now fast forward. Well, let me tell you a story. So one of the lessons I learned from that was afforded me a sale was I called unscheduled on a CEO of a company, a big company, did my IBM spiel, and he said, "Mike, I'd love to talk to you, but I'm literally going on a 2-week skiing vacation in Colorado with my family. Call me in 2 weeks when I get back. Would love to hear what IBM is doing in my industry." Okay, great. Well, I had also learned his executive assistant's name, so I went out to my car, and 3 weeks later, in my day timer back then, I wrote down 2 things: the executive assistant's name and ask him how his skiing vacation went. 3 weeks went by. I gave him a week to catch up upon returning, and I called him, and after I saying, Mike Meany from IBM, first words out of my mouth, "Mr. Smith, how was your skiing vacation with your family in Colorado?" And it was a moment of silence, and he said something, and this is as near as to what he really said that I can remember, because it was that indelibly put on me back then, and this is a long time ago. He said, "You're probably a pretty smart guy working for IBM, and you can probably figure that your competitors have started calling on me too. I don't know why, but they have. And they all called on me right before I left, and every one of them knew that I was going on a skiing vacation, and they have all called me since I returned. You're the last." Oh my gosh, doggone it, I'm the last. That's bad, right? No, it was pretty good, actually. He said, "But do you know you're the only one that asked me about my skiing vacation?" Again, a moment of silence. I didn't know what to say. And he said, what that tells me is you listened to me, you cared enough to write that down, you were personal, and to me that expresses the difference between a professional and an amateur. I don't like to deal with amateurs, only professionals. Yelets had that meeting, and I ended up selling him an IBM solution. Now, I admit that I might have sold it to him anyway because it was IBM, but the point of this whole discussion and example is I immediately separated myself from my competition. He put me in a whole different class, a whole different orbit, if you will, than what they were put in his mind.
Certainly.
And that's what mattered. And so it helped me to be more successful. I never forgot that. It was an epiphany to me. So in the design of ACT and the design of VIP Orbit, we incorporate those kinds of principles because I believe software, especially when it's relationship management kind of software, we're talking about people. We're talking about dynamics and fluid, and the nature of, the emotions and psychology and all sorts of things. It's not just, bits and bytes like a spreadsheet or a Word document is. No, this is people. And so, how do you provide the soul to a software product? These principles, in part, are the soul we've imparted in both ACT back then and VIP Orbit today to help people realize that and connect with people far better than they would otherwise.
Well, Mike, one of the things that is so relevant today is just to be able to separate yourself from everybody else. When you're in sales or you're in a small business, you've got to be able to figure out how to get an edge on the other 34 guys who called on that same prospect about your same or similar product or service. Mm-hmm. And this is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and why is this important? Well, I like to tell people, look, there's two profound agents of change that are imposed on us each and every day, whether we like it or not, whether we realize it or not. One is the customer, right? You may call it a client, a patient. It doesn't matter. They're a customer, right? The doggone customer, they're never satisfied. And it's our job to continue to satisfy them in an exceptional fashion. The other profound agent of change imposed on us is competition. And whether we like it or not, they're trying to kill us, right?
That's right.
Try to kill our competition, right? So,
that's right.
So we have to stay ahead of the curve here, and that's one of the means by which we can do it, Irv, and that's how I do it. Now, there's another element in VIP Orbit that we've functionally added, or it's been there all along actually, but it's called VIP Links. I mean, look at the two of you. So I first met John, back last October.
Right.
And then, of course, came down to Houston and enjoyed one of the parties at the Prohibition event one evening. Right. I met you, Irv, but John introduced me to you, right? And coming down there again, it's possible that you guys will introduce me to further people behind you. So you're linked to other people. And I know the two of you know each other. So when I create a subsequent person's profile, without first knowing that they know somebody else in my database, once upon learning that they know each other, I connect the two of you. Sure. So when I deal with either one of you, I know that you know the other, and that gives me more knowledge. It gives me more leverage. It gives me more ability, more agility to compete, better than my competition who doesn't have that information. But people refer you to other people when they trust you and you're providing value, and that's what we want. That's that expansion of a person's resource and influence that they have via an orbit. And so those are the lessons learned going all the way back to IBM that have still exist today and will always exist no matter what.
That's fantastic, man. I'm just really thrilled. Well, listen, folks, you're listening to the Small Business Today show with Cruise and Hughes, and today we have the master of customer relationship management from way back there, Mr. Mike Muni, CEO of VIP Orbit and author of Who's in Your Orbit? Well, that's a good question. More on that when we return. Stay with us.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 pillars.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and wrap up as soon as we come back out of the break, and I'm going to give you a call about perhaps setting up that that webinar that you talked about. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I'm going to try to get a few people
to do that, John. So if everybody could just send it to you, we'll pick a date and time and aggregate everybody, and we'll have a group private webinar for all of your listeners that want to take advantage of it.
Awesome. As soon as we come back, we'll wrap up. We'll thank you, Ervin. I will finish the show, and then I'll contact you a little later on outside of things, and we'll set that up.
Sounds great. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mike.
In IMAX. What are you? I'm Gotham's Reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruise and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today has been Mr. Mike Muni. Mike is the CEO of VIP Orbit. He's the author of a book called Who's in Your Orbit. Guys, if you are on the Apple platform, you definitely want to check out this product because it can definitely make you a better salesperson and a better professional. You can go to viporbit.com. Mike, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show with Ervin and I and talking about your business, and we look forward to having you on again soon.
It's been a pleasure. I can't express my appreciation enough. So you guys are great.
All right, guy.
Thanks, Mike.
And we're definitely going to get back with you as soon as we get some people together to do that webinar.
Okay, very good.
All
I'm ready. I'll wait to hear from you, but it's a genuine offer.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, man.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right, now. So, Irv, how great has that been?
That's fantastic, man. You know, I didn't ask Mike this because I was a little embarrassed too, because I just have so much respect for the guy and what he's done and all of his accomplishments. But I got to tell you, John, I'm curious as to what the number of Apple products this guy's been able to influence the sale on simply because somebody found out about VIP Orbit and was able to see that, hey, I need a tool like this.
Right.
And to get one, I need to be on the Apple platform. I'm just curious. One of these days, I'm going to maybe ask him offline because I was embarrassed to ask him on
Well,
the
I'm
air.
certain that he's definitely helped inspire, if not someone to purchase and get on the Apple platform, to stay on the platform.
That's exactly right.
I had an opportunity when he did come down. He came down for one of the magazine launches that we had.
Sure.
And remember, he was standing in the corner playing with his phone. He was showing me how the product worked.
Right.
And he almost converted me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I was almost born again right then.
He'll grab you.
But we definitely appreciate Mike for coming on the show. Guys, if you are interested in having a webinar on how to use the VIP Orbit product, you can definitely send an email to John, myself at john.cruz@sbtmagazine.net, or to Irv
at irvin.hughes@sbtmagazine.net.
And we will get Mike together, and we'll definitely help you get that information and knowledge that you need to make you a better salesperson. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to Small Business Today. It's been a great show, man.
It has been.
I love bringing great information to our people. And remember, this is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. I'm John Cruise.
I'm Erv Hughes.
And until tomorrow, I guess you guys should do a few things for us. Be smart. Be successful. And above all else,
be in action.
And Irv and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.